Hi, I'm Justine Vanucci Frederick from Vanucci Small Business Studios. I'm basically here to help you through your business. I am a part consultant, part friend, part cheerleader, and my videos are basically working you through issues in your own business while I'm going through mine. So if you are a business that is handmade, product-based, an artistic business, if you're doing shows, if you're doing wholesale, I'm your lady for all that. Just kind of an overview video to kind of get you thinking in the new year. There are 3 things that are probably stopping you from making money. You can put it into 3 categories. And let's just jump right in. The number 1 is mindset. I think one of the first aspects about mindset, and the one that always makes me kind of ruffles my feathers a little bit, is you've got to bring it back to yourself. You have to take responsibility for your business, your life, your choices. There's an element of you cannot be the victim in this story. And sometimes that makes I don't love hearing that initially, because there are plenty of us that things do just happen to us for certain reasons, or for no reason. You get into a car accident that injures you. I personally have ADHD, and that is something that I feel like has happened to me, but I cannot use that as an excuse. I could use everything as an excuse. My stomach was a little upset this morning. I could have easily used that as an excuse not to shoot this video. I just moved into a new studio and I'm reorganizing. I could say, well, I really can't get back to work until I organize my studio. These are all valid things. But the thing is that even when something happens to you, the way you respond to that is what you have control over. And that's pretty powerful. That's pretty cool. You don't have to be at someone else's whim, because even if the current carries you somewhere, you can decide, what choice do I make next? What choice from here do I go to? I like to think of my ADHD, instead of a setback, as my superpower, because there are a lot of positive things that go with the ADHD that have helped me really grow my business. So that's a mindset. That's just my mindset. My mindset is that this is a positive instead of a negative. A lot of people will tell you their mindset is a negative instead of a positive, and everyone is right. It's just how you frame it. Another part of the mindset I think that's important to mention is I feel like we're all looking for perfection before we start. And, it's just not about perfection. First of all, it is so much easier to tweak something that you're already working on than to start something new. So get that shitty project out there, get the crappy version of it out there, and then keep tweaking it. Keep working on it, keep evaluating it and changing it. The first thing that you do is never going to be exactly your vision or what you have in mind. I mean, of course that happens once in a while, but you cannot count on that. And another part of that is there is no final destination with a business. Our world is constantly changing. Look at our elections, look at our social fabric. You're always going to have to be evaluating and changing your business for this quickly changing world. What can I do this year to make my business even more of a place that I want to spend time in? How do I make it be mine? That goes into my last part of the mindset, is that this business is yours. I got really hung up at the beginning of starting my business with like, well, this is how it's done. You work these days a week. You have to offer this. You have to communicate in this way. You can't have more than X amount of collections, all of this stuff. They're just all false beliefs that came to me from other people's businesses and what was working for them. I realized I wanted to travel more. And so when I was doing wholesale, that just wasn't really feasible. So I had to move my business into more of a retail direction if I wanted to travel more. I wanted to make more collections because I love doing all these different colorways. Well, I can't be doing more collections if I launch them and have the amount of pieces in them that I used to when I only had 2 collections a year. And, I'm allowed to change that. I'm allowed to have as many collections as I want that make sense for my business, or as few. And along with all of this, I think that when this doesn't work or when we're stuck in a place, there's a lot of negative self-talk that goes on, and that is not helpful. Not helpful at all. Like, have you ever really successfully motivated yourself into a positive attitude by berating yourself in your head? Whenever I get into those kind of places, I think what would I tell my bestie? Her name's Stephanie and she lives in Philadelphia. And I'm like, if Stephanie was telling me this problem, what would I say to her? And then I try to say it to myself because 100% of the time, literally 100% of the time, it is so much nicer than what I'm saying to myself. And just to wrap up the mindset section, the last little bit I'll go into that is, a lot of these things we do tell ourselves in our mind are just stories we tell ourselves. They're not necessarily the truth, or they're the truth in this moment, and they're not the overall forever overarching truth. I think a lot of one of the ones I see people say a lot is, well, I'm a good artist, but I'm not a good business person. Okay. Fair, but that's not your identity. Why aren't you a good business person? Probably because you don't have the knowledge to be a good business person. How can you change that? You can watch YouTube videos. You could take classes. You could join a little group of people that lift each other up and have meetings once a month. You don't have to, even if that story is true in this moment, what is the value in continuing to tell that story? I'm not a good business person. If you just keep going like that, well, you're just going to stay a bad business person. And then your business is never going to get it to the place where you want to get it to. So the second thing that's probably stopping you from making money is you're not setting measurable goals, and maybe you're not even setting goals at all. I've seen a lot of people set goals for the upcoming year with things like be a better business person, grow my business, grow my social media following. Okay, these are all a great start, but how do I know when I'm a better business person? What does that mean to grow my business? What does that look like? How do I grow? What does growing my social media following look like? Is that 100 followers? Is that 10,000 followers? If I don't know what these goals actually are, I don't know how to reach them. And then that gets it back into the mindset because you feel like you haven't accomplished any of your goals, and then you beat yourself up. When maybe you did grow your social media following by several hundred people, but again, that in your mind, you were like, well, that's not enough. What is enough? What is the number that you want to reach? Let's say you want to do 500 new followers this year. So what do you need to do to reach 500 followers? So you work backwards from your goal. When you have specific, reachable, numerical goals, and whether you reach them or not, there is a place of curiosity instead of failure that you can come from. If you did not get all 10 of these wholesale accounts that you were hoping to get, you can really reevaluate why. Okay, so 10 was a little was a little bit more ambitious than I realized. So now that you have that information, you could set a goal for the next 6 months where you're going to try to get 7 wholesale accounts. And then you reach your goal, you get 7. Now, you might not have felt like that was a success if you hadn't had a measurable goal. And now that you've met that goal, you can see what's working and you can apply that to the next goal that you have. Without this kind of information, you're really running your business blind. And that just leads to anxiety, confusion, inconsistent sales. Having measurable goals gives you a roadmap, helps you plan backwards. If I want to do this, then what do I need to do to get to that? If you just said, I want to get wholesale accounts, well, I mean, then you're just overwhelmed. There's a million ways you could get wholesale accounts. How many are you trying to get? What kind are you trying to get? I mean, even get more specific. I'd like to get 3 boutiques, 2 museums, and, 1 local shop. These are, once you have those in place, how do I get to them? So with your, instead of being like overwhelmed with, oh my God, should I do a trade show? Should I reach out to a bunch of people? How many times should I reach out? Should I call? Okay, well, part of your goal is 1 local place. So that's we can make a plan from that. We're going to go online and we're going to look up the top 10 stores that we think would be a good fit with our line. We're going to call those stores and ask if we can make an appointment. And we're going to go into some of those stores. So, you can see how we can make a plan based on our specific goal. The last thing I want to talk about that's probably keeping you from making money is you are not putting yourself in front of the right audience. So your business, just kind of like the mindset, is all perspective. For some people, you are too expensive. For some people, you're too colorful. For some people, you're too modern. And for some people, you're too classic. So we can get feedback about our business that isn't exactly correct by putting ourselves in front of the wrong people. Some of the biggest times that I see this happen, for example, are, I'm pretty involved in the juried art show circuit. So I do shows where I have to apply, I'm evaluated, I pay a premium price, and I will do a show with other artists that have also been put through this process and correctly organized. And oftentimes there's a small fee to get into the show. Those are where I do the best, where my audience is, where people appreciate my work, where no one feels like my stuff is too expensive or uses materials they're not familiar with. If I decided to do a show, let's say, there's a lot of local shows around that are less days. You don't have to be evaluated to be in them. You just have to make sure you pay your fee. I don't do as well at those because people expect lower prices. A lot of the audience is maybe more families that are just out to walk around. It's not my specific type of client. So knowing where your client shops is so important because a lot of us start out with these smaller shows that may not be a great fit for a higher end business. And we hear that our stuff's too expensive, or what else have I heard? During this, or just lack of interest, honestly. There's this one show that I tried a couple times, and the clientele was just too old, honestly. The women were just much past the kind of woman that is interested in wearing the type of jewelry that I make. So, you're just getting feedback of people not even approaching your booth. And then you think, my product must be crap. No one wants it. Well, no one at this show wants it, but there are plenty of other people out there who want it. Instagram and Facebook and TikTok all have pretty different demographics. There's some overlap for sure, but there's different demographics for each one of those. And if you're spending too much time in a social media platform that your audience isn't even hanging out in, like most of my clients are not on TikTok. So I don't really spend my time on TikTok. I have like an older millennial into maybe even like a baby boomer client, and they are not on TikTok as much. So if I was exclusively showing my jewelry on TikTok, I don't think that I would have the same kind of response as I do by showing it on Instagram. So really like get very specific about your person instead of being like, she's a woman aged 35 to 65 with extra income. Like think back to the goals from the second topic. Like my client is a specific woman who is 49 years old. She works in a small city as a museum curator. She does not have any kids. She has 2 cats. Because when you get more specific, then you can think about like, where does she hang out? Like I know my special client has pets. So I know that there can be some overlap with maybe a few cute cat videos on my Instagram where they're interacting with some jewelry, and that's interesting to them, So it's about content too, I guess I'm even saying. What kind of content are you creating, and how you're getting, but that's part of getting yourself in front of the correct audience. So yeah, those are my quick top 3 reasons why you might not have made money last year, and some things to think about. I'd love to make further videos on all 3 of these, like with maybe like a workbook included, so we can really dive into why certain things are happening in our business and how to affect them. And I'm right here with you guys. I'm planning for my 2025. I'm also setting goals, and sometimes I even, doing my script writing and researching for these videos just reminds me of all of the same stuff for my own business. So, we're in this together, and I'm super excited about our journey. And please, if you liked this, subscribe. There'll be lots more videos coming out. And if you have any questions, please, either privately message me or write them, in the chat here. I'd love to do a Q&A video at some point with some people's biggest questions of 2025. So I really look forward to seeing you guys more.